Good evening, good Sunday night. This is not going to be very long, but I felt like I needed to get this out. I haven't recorded anything in the last few days. I've had a pretty bad flare up of this nerve condition called postherpetic neuralgia. It's a condition that's due to a really bad case of shingles. About a year ago this month, I had cracked a couple of ribs, and about a week later, I had all these blisters that developed around from the middle of my midsection all the way to the middle of my back. And I didn't know what it was. I had gone to CVS to get an ace bandage so I could support my two cracked ribs, and I thought I was having an allergic reaction. I had no idea what shingles was. So I woke up one morning and I had like 1,000 little fluid-filled blisters all the way around, halfway, because it stopped right at the middle of my spine. And I went to the emergency room because I was freaking out. And the attending physician said, "You've got shingles." And I was like, "Shingles?" I said, I thought that was something that elderly people get. And she said, "Did you suffer any type of blunt trauma injury around here, around where this on your right side?" And I said, "Well, yeah, I cracked a couple of my two lower ribs, and I got an ace bandage, and I thought I was just having an allergic reaction." And she goes, "No, this is shingles." And she goes, "It's one of the worst cases I've ever seen." So after it healed, I thought that I was, as the blisters, started healing, I thought I was just about out of the dark, but the pain never abated. Matter of fact, it even got worse. And 2 out of 10 people that get a really bad case get this nerve condition called postherpetic neuralgia, and that's what I have. So if you see me fidgeting around, that's why. It just means I'm having a flare up. Anyway, didn't mean to bog you down. Just wanted to explain. If you see me fidgeting, it's been pretty debilitating. I've had it for almost a year now, and it's better than it was. But when I have a flare up, it's pretty bad, and I'm having a flare up. So, anyway, let's get to the topic at hand. As we discussed in the second video I did, we talked about the threat matrix score, and it's basically a score to where the powers that be, the NSA, the CIA, they have a score depending on your attitude towards government, your attitude towards the collect. Are you on board with collectivism, or are you a constitutionalist? Are you pro-Second Amendment? Are you against the Federal Reserve? Are you anti-UN, where a governmental body that's not elected by the people gets to make decisions for the people in this country, kind of like the EU and what they have in Brussels, Belgium, where like in the UK, where their parliament is just basically the face of the government, but they don't really get to make the final call. It's the people in Brussels, Belgium, that do. And so they base all of that stuff using their algorithms, and they assign us a threat matrix score. And it's kind of like what they've got in China right now, called a social media score. But that's pretty much well known to the people, because if somebody in China that has criticized the government or said something that's not exactly pro-communist or pro the collective, they can be denied being board on a train. They can lose their job, lose their apartment. And here in the United States, it's more discreet, but I think most definitely believe that we're moving towards a social media score, to where if you're not on board with this communist coup d'etat that's going on right now, and that's exactly what it is. What you see right now with this going against Trump, anybody that wears a Trump hat, your face being attacked. And please don't get me wrong. I am not saying that Trump is the end all be all. I'm not even saying that he's not part of a plan. This could all be a massive psyop for all I know. But what I do know is that Trump has proven everything that people like myself have been saying for a long time, that there's the government that you see and the government that you don't see. And if Trump is just a puppet being used, what he's done is he's outed people like myself that have been very vocal and upfront about what we're facing. And this, if you notice that all of the 2020 candidates, they're definitely anti-Second Amendment. They're pro-open borders. They don't believe in the sovereignty of the United States. They're basically following the protocols of the communist agenda, the Solomitsky rule. And the Council on Foreign Relations, which was formed in the late 1920s, 1920s, somewhere around there. They were about bringing in they were brought about because we did not join the League of Nations after World War I. And then after, their job basically was to get us to agree to join some type of world government, some type of world court, somewhere where all these countries would make rules and make agreements with each other not to do certain things. But basically the Rockefellers were the ones that donated the land for the United Nations that's on U.S. soil. And I remember back in the 60s and 70s, you see these bumper stickers that would say, "Get the United States out of the UN." And but the United Nations was always part of the agenda to bring in this one world government. And so, but it's a totalitarian communist style government, and they're wanting that for the entire world. And communism in China and Russia and all these other smaller countries could not have existed without the banking oligarchs that run Wall Street and run the Bank of London. They are the ones that keep this going, because for the global elites, the greatest style of government that could ever be would be communism, because they're the ones at the top. There is no middle class, and it's just the serfs. Okay, and the serfs can't rise up because they don't have the means to do so, and if they have to depend upon the collective in order to exist, they're not going to rock the boat. And that's what we have going on in this country right now. And they're wanting to collapse the system, bring in as many illegals as they can. Right now, the United States Inc. owes over $22 trillion. If you were to stack $100 bills one on top of the other, you would have to drive 68 miles to reach $1 trillion. And USA Inc. owns 22 million of them. And they're basically asking us, as we were made the collateral, to pay this debt. But of course, we can never pay this debt back. It's not possible. In unfunded liabilities, money that's already been paid into the system, like for Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, we're about $150 trillion in the hole. And I know that's not a pleasant thing to have to face, but that is a fact. So basically, they're going to have to change things, and they're going to have to collapse the system. And from the ashes, they hope to bring in this UN communist totalitarian system, feudalistic system, kind of like back in the New World Order is the same as the Old World Order, except back in the days, the king would go by all the farmers and take 30, 40, 50% of their crops, and as a tax, just for the privilege of growing crops on the king's land. There was a really good talk by a gentleman named Brandon House, and I'm going to leave that link in the description. You really should check him out. He was talking about this stuff back in the mid-90s. And as I was listening to him tonight, he gave about an hour-long talk. It's like, wow, this guy, he was way ahead of the curve. And everything that he talked about in 1995, it's come to fruition. It's happening right now, even as we speak. Now, what they're trying to do is they're trying to make us comply out of fear, not speak up. If you wear a MAGA hat, you basically take your life into your own hands. And that's not the way this country was about. I mean, it's easy to like speech that you agree with, but it's those that speak about things that you don't like is what makes free speech what it is. I don't have to like what you say, but I'll defend to my death your right to say it. Because when we start silencing people, eventually we ourselves will be silenced. If all of a sudden we were to wake up and decide that we're the rebels, we're in the minority. Anyway, I'm going to leave a link to Brandon House. The guy's really, really incredible. Don't forget to support Caravan to Midnight. John B. Wills leaves a link to his news articles or his news spew on YouTube, and then don't forget John Age of the Anomic Age. He's got a couple of really good videos out just recently. Talks about the Federal Reserve, and he's got Cody Snodgrass that's going to be on his page as well. And you guys really ought to listen to this guy. He's really, really in the know. Anyway, God bless. Say a prayer for this country. Be ever diligent. Be ever vigilant. And I'll catch you guys later. God bless. Bye.